DC council member, Trayon White, corruptly agreed to accept. The whole car was bugged up. This is so much worse than what Marion Barry did. And people will not let it go that he had vices. But he ain't do this. So today we will be discussing some disappointing news. We will be discussing the alleged bribery done by Ward 8 DC council member Trayon White. He allegedly pocketed over $100,000 to use his position to influence government contracts. I'll get into what type of evidence they have to kick off this indictment. It's damning evidence, I should say. And if you are in the black community and you know folks be doing wrong and you are not holding anybody accountable, any of our people accountable solely because they're black, you won't hear me either. In this community, we should be able to tell each other when we messed up. We should be able to give each other advice, and it doesn't have to be a scolding all the time. I like a good lashing or a scolding. It doesn't have to be a bashing of sorts, but I will hold anyone in my community accountable if I see it need be. Now, let's get into Trayon White's background. So Trayon White was sworn into office January 2nd of 2017 as a member of the Council of the District of Columbia's Ward 8. Trayon White ran for council member twice, and in his second attempt, LaRuby May ran against Trayon White, and it was a few other people, but they were the top two, I should say. Miss May blew Trayon White out of the water when it came to donations made to her campaign. However, and more fairly, the winner would be decided by a tally of votes. DC showed up and showed out for Mr. White, giving 135 votes to him versus Mrs. May's 50 votes. Prior to running for council, he put in the footwork, showing up to events that promote positivity, children's educations, gun violence awareness, among other important topics that needed to be addressed. Until this arrest and criminal complaint hit the news, a lot of DC residents thought he was doing just that. Trayon White was arrested Sunday, August 18th, on a criminal complaint charging him with bribery. The complaint alleges that in the beginning of June 2024, Mr. White corruptly agreed to accept $157,000 in cash payments in exchange for pressuring government employees, specifically the Office of Neighborhood Safety and the DYRS, which he works for himself. And he did so, allegedly, to extend several DC contracts. I want to draw attention to 4 words really quick before we keep going. Corruptly agreed to accept. What does this mean, though? He did not bring up the money himself. He did not propose money be exchanged. He was approached. He was asked. They laid out what the payments was going to look like, when he was going to get them, when they had to meet, and he agreed. And even though he was approached, they gave him an amount that he could have refused. But the bad part about it is he accepted. They set a trap and he fell for it. And that's very unfortunate. In this document, it states that these DC contracts were valued at $5.2 million and were for 2 companies that provide violence intervention services in the district. According to the feds, on 4 separate occasions, Trayon White met with a DC contractor in the contractor's vehicle. He didn't know that the contractor turned federal informant, and the whole car was bugged up. Alright? So, on 4 separate occasions, he met with, let me just say this, he allegedly met with this contractor more than 4 times. Being more specific, June 26th, July 17th, July 25th, and August 9th of 2024. Very, very recently. Trayon White accepted $35,000 on each of those dates. On other dates listed, the cash payment varied from $5K to $15K. Let's do the math a little bit. 35,000 times 4 is around $140,000. All right. So it has been said that altogether within every single meeting that was had, he raked in $156,000. So okay, and the rest that's left is roughly 16,000. Yes, 16,000. The federal informant could be seen handing over the envelope, and Trayon White putting these envelopes in his jacket pocket on the inside. After Trayon White's hearing on Monday, August 19th, he was released on conditions that he cannot leave the country, and if he wants to leave outside of a 50-mile radius of DC, he would have to let the courts know. For the charge of bribery, he is facing a maximum of 15 years in federal prison. In conclusion, he shouldn't have allegedly did this. And I know I used allegedly wrong, just like a lot of people is using demure wrong. I hope that he doesn't get 15 years. But come on now, this is so much worse than what Marion Barry did. And people will not let it go that he had vices. And, you know, he might not have been a perfect husband, a perfect father, or a perfect person to himself. But he ain't do this. No, sir. And he got shot when folks was trying to take over the building and do that whole thing. Marion Barry did that. And he progressed from council member to mayor. I don't think that's possible for Trayon now. And all of the hard work that he put in. That's why you really got to keep going and fight temptation. And this just goes to show like how disappointed I am. I knew that, you know, within politics and things to that nature, it's janky stuff going on. But to see it unfolding, not just with him, but there was another worker, a government worker, who got like $9 million in COVID funds. Everybody is for self here. And it really does suck. But let me just give you some background on how I know of Trayon White. So he comes from Ward 8. Ward 8 is the lowest of income, public housing everywhere, the most violence, etc, etc. Before I graduated high school, I recall Trayon working out of an office in Ballou Senior High School. He worked with a handful of really, really smart students, and I believe it was on politics and debate. I've always seen him act professional and be professional and help the children. I seen it myself. That's a huge reason why I'm disappointed in all of this. Knowing that he came from Southeast, even if you wasn't familiar with him, he would know, just like I know, what this city so desperately needs. The DC contractor that Trayon met up with, this contractor was previously accused of falsifying records and turned into a federal informant to save his own ass. it ain't no way you're not gonna go to jail. You still gonna go to jail. It just might be a few years knocked off because of this. It ain't like they're gonna take Trayon 15 and minus that from your sentence. And a lot of people do not want to believe it. A lot of people do not want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it until after I saw such compelling evidence. I don't know if you just have to say guilty after they got audio, video, still photos, what you was wearing that day, what you was wearing this day. I even seen an article that stated on the same day that Trayon White went to an event and talked about, it was that Roman candle fire that happened in Southeast where all of those people were displaced. The very same day that he went out there to talk to the news and to do his job as council member and put in the footwork as he has, on one of those occasions where he accepted cash was the same day that he went to go talk about that. And I'm not saying that to say that he's a bad person. I don't think that he's a bad person, but we fuck up sometimes and you can't repair it by not doing your time. You can't. And it's the type of thing that, I mean, if you've already had such a hard life, I understand wanting the millions and this and that, but you gotta have, you can't be doing this. A lot of people don't want to believe that he has pocketed all of this $156,000. I think that he has. I think that the Tesla that he has, can be accounted for with that. I think that if he has a really nice home, that 156 could be accounted for with that as well. And the suits and the things. I mean, we as people that came from such a dark place, we always had to fight temptation not to break the damn law. And this was yet another test. Just as we really wanted to grab something from the grocery store and just run out of there, right? Couldn't do it. Because you knew it just wouldn't work. Especially once things got more and more advanced. It just won't work. You will not get off scot-free. But it is temptation that even brought this about. A lot of people want to say this and that. He could have said no. I make decent money as a government employee, as a helper, council member for the people. You're not even supposed to be caring about the dollar amount. You're not. Just as your influence could push through certain things, I want people's influence to work on what it needs to be worked on. Poverty, mental health. Where did that money go? Because a lot of people are thinking that it went right back into programs. That's not how that goes. If you take from a nonprofit organization, if you are accepting funds from them, the money is not going back to them. So I think that people have that part about it confused. And I just want us to be better. So it's your girl, Octavia. I got to get on out of here. Things to do. People to see. All of these things. So make sure that you like this video. Please leave your comments down below. Again, thank you for 14,000 subscribers. It means the world to me. All right. And I'm going to see y'all in my next video.